Next presentation is by Russell Cadman from Blacktown City Council. The presentation is on private unlock WSUD and OSD success or failure. Just a bit about Russell. So Russell has always been passionate about the environment and fondly remembers raising tadpoles into frogs from the gutters of Cairns, Queensland, where he grew up. They weren't? All right. A civil engineer with a background in design and construction of roads and drainage. In the WSUD compliance role at Blacktown, he believes WSUD education at all levels, inside and outside council, is a vital aspect of compliance. So please welcome Russell.
We're at that position where contacts, but then you can't see anything up close, so just have to bear with me. Okay, as said, I'm talking about private unlock WSUD. Today, we'll be talking about water sensitive urban design, on-site stormwater detention, and rainwater tanks that primarily are used for water conservation purposes. Are they a success or expensive failure? So my presentation will cover the challenges of running a WSUD audit program at Blacktown City Council. What does a WSUD audit program look like at Blacktown? I'll discuss the audit process, how we tried something good different, see a broad overview of the audit results we found. Was it a success or failure? Discuss the main takeaways from the project, and hopefully there might be some Dorothy Dixon questions. Challenges of a WSUD audit program. I'll be the first to admit it has been a major challenge. First of all, to find and then keeping good records of privately owned assets for over 900 properties and an estimated 4,500 water quality and on-site stormwater detention system, including rainwater tanks. And especially for the older properties predating 2000, we don't always have the original engineering plans showing where all the assets are located on site, and good luck if you can get them out of the property owners. There are 5 main documents I'm interested in for compliance with these systems at Blacktown. The first one is the occupation certificate and water quality system certificates. So that just means that the systems have been signed off properly. The works has executed plans showing the stormwater drainage and hydraulic services that show any pumps and reuse systems for like toilet flushing systems. Approved inspection and maintenance schedules, which are approved at the construction certificate stage or detailed design stage. Section 88 or Section 88E instruments. These are restrictions and positive covenants created under the New South Wales Conveyancing Act of 1919, and they impose obligations on the new owner of the land. For our purposes here, this is to maintain, repair, and provide maintenance reports to council for these systems. And lastly but not least, we require 5-year maintenance agreements, signed maintenance agreements, and that's normally part of a notice of consent condition for the development. What did the WSUD audit program framework look like in 2014 when I first started at Blacktown? The previous WSUD compliance officer, Amanda, had done a great job developing a water sensitive urban design unlock database and used the 2012 WSUD audit program framework document, the one on the slide there, as the basis for that program. It was developed as part of a Masters of Integrated Water Resource Management by Matthew Moore, with extensive consultation with the different departments at Blacktown City Council. He also authored a further recommendations report which extended the on-lot program to include OSD and compliance of council-owned WSUD assets. When I came to the position in October 2014, Council was just starting to move from a paper-based filing system to a central document management system called TRIM, and a new corporate business system, whose name I won't mention. The on-lot database at the time recorded water quality systems only, and we got some OSD and rainwater tank assets as well, as they were part of that same development. I realised that the 2012 framework document needed to be updated to stay relevant with Council's changing systems, and this was also the right time to incorporate the further recommendations report into the main audit framework. So where are we now? E2 Design Lab were successful consultant chosen for updating and combining the framework document and further recommendation report into a new blueprint document for Council's WSUD audit program. Key aspects of the new blueprint included strengthening the existing WSUD audit program, recommendations for a WSUD asset management system to help monitor the maintenance and reporting of private assets, inclusion of private OSD and council-owned WSUD systems, and the development of a standard compliance letter templates. So, see, that's the document there. Yes, that's a standard template to the on the right-hand side. So we've got a number of those. WSUD audit program objectives. That's all pretty standard stuff. Basically, I don't have to read through all of those, but basically to gain greater compliance, environmental policy, improve the management, operational management of WSUD assets, deliver expected benefits to the community and the environment, and basically, just do a much better job. Okay, WSUD resource tools for the audit program. The blueprint is a companion document of the water sensitive urban design, inspection and maintenance guidelines, which have recently been endorsed by Council and is now available on our website to download and use. That's the document there, and it's quite a comprehensive and detailed document to standardise WSUD maintenance for our on-lot owners, and of course other people can use it. We realised early on that an important enabler of WSUD compliance was the creation of WSUD resource tools for capacity building of owners, operation managers and maintenance contractors. So the document basically covers all your main standard WSUD assets in Blacktown, including proprietary from your proprietary manufacturers like Ocean, Protect, and Spell. So let's try something different. Okay, what do we know? We know there is a current gap in maintenance of privately owned WSUD and OSD, and some are definitely doing better than others. WSUD and OSD maintenance reporting to Council does happen, but it is actually the exception rather than the rule. To be honest, if we were to receive all the maintenance reports that we are actually due, we would be just totally overwhelmed using a paper-based or even electronic email system. Council only has 2 dedicated WSUD compliance officers that are funded through Blacktown's Stormwater Management Service Charge. So even though we are better resourced than most other councils who may have no dedicated WSUD compliance officers, we still need more help. It's as simple as that. So to borrow LD's tagline, let's be good different. to succeed and be successful, we do need to take a different approach. So let's collaborate with maintenance contractors for free of charge audits. What could possibly go wrong? Thankfully, we weren't building any Eiffel Towers. A good different approach. Audits by maintenance contractors carried out on behalf of council help make connections between owners and maintenance contractors, assure WSUD owners that maintenance contractors are legitimate companies and not just some scam artists. We can audit more properties than would otherwise be possible with limited or no dedicated staff resources for inspections. And proprietary device suppliers gain access to the products under real-world service conditions. I found that audits and follow-ups can be very time-consuming, and a maintenance contractor is generally required for the follow-up maintenance work anyway. Maintenance reporting must become efficient, digital, and online. And I know most of the people I talk to agree with that one, that we have to do much better with the maintenance reporting. Service stations, okay, they're a special case when it comes to on-site inspections and maintenance. And as you can only use intrinsically safe maintenance equipment. So even though these sites are highly regulated, the stormwater drainage systems generally are not clearly understood for maintenance purposes by the owners. And we actually basically avoided doing service stations because of those issues with the actual being able to do inspections. Okay, what we did. First of all, we developed and signed an MOU with each audit contractor. I do wish to acknowledge that Renew Solutions did develop the first MOU that we have since used as the basis for further audits with other companies. We chose a broad cross-section of properties for the general audits so we could better understand where the problem areas were. We also decided to allow the proprietary manufacturers to audit properties with their own devices installed, as they would be the best judge of whether those systems were actually operating or not. We advised owners in writing of the proposed audits by our chosen maintenance contractor so that there was a paper trail in the future if there happened to be any issues or kickback from owners when the actual audits were undertaken by the third party. We made it clear that the owner was under no obligation to use the audit contractor for current or future maintenance works needed. However, it should be noted that some proprietary products can only be serviced or replaced by the original manufacturer to ensure the devices will function as originally approved by Blacktown City Council. And one of the main products, of course, are your spell filters, and we only allow the storm filters. We only allow Ocean Protect to replace those. And again, if you were replacing a spell filter, well, you obviously have to go back to spell for that. Audit times were arranged by the audit contractor and proved fairly time consuming, especially for the smaller residential, residential type developments, because you don't have someone on site in the main office. Visual inspections were used for the audits and no testing of assets were undertaken or confined spaces entry. Reports and priority lists were sent to council for follow-ups, but notably they weren't directly sent to the owners, and I'll talk about more about that later. The audit contractor, although the audit contractor was free to talk to the owners about follow-up on maintenance works. So that's some example of the audit letters that we sent to property owners, and one of the MOUs that we were developed especially for the audits. So pretty standard stuff. But the fact that we've done this now makes it much easier to do it again. couple of pictures. On the left, there's Ben from New Solutions. They did the first audits for us, and that was a huge sector. And there was no way he was going to get that lid off without using a hydraulic jack. And so from the middle picture, you can see that it's obviously never been opened since it was constructed, and it's never been serviced. On the right, that's Raf from Spell, and he's using a digital tablet with Wex's executed plans on it, and to mark up the condition reports of those stormwater pits that were inspected. Okay, that's some results. It's quite small to see, but basically we got these spreadsheets compiling all the data, and for that one, even though there was only 40 odd properties that were inspected, each property had a number of assets. And so it was actually quite a big task to actually record all that information. And again, that's Ocean Protect, some sample results of the different assets. And again, some example audit reports. So generally, the reports had the assets. They had a couple of photos, whether those assets needed maintenance or not. And again, there's basically the reports by the contractors were quite similar to each other. Okay, some audit results. So out of 165 properties, we originally envisaged to be inspected, we managed to audit about 144 of those. When I say we, I mean the raw we, they did. So we need to do a lot more number crunching of the numbers and drilling down of the asset types. But overall, we found that approximately half the properties had no or minor maintenance issues, which was pleasing to see. So from that table there, you can see we new audited 44 properties, and just over 50% of those properties were good to go. Ocean Protect 91 properties, and they had about 60% compliance. And Spell 9 properties, and just over 50%. Just with the Spell, a lot of the service stations do use their products, but because of that problem with inspections, we just didn't go there with the service stations. So, okay, so feedback. The response from all 3 companies that took part in the free of charge audit was very positive. They did see that it was definitely worthwhile to do the audits. It sort of gave them insights into the property owners, into how the council actually operated, and the types of legislation we work under. They did generally discuss ongoing maintenance with property owners, but again, most of these, there's still a possibility of picking up maintenance contracts in the future, but there wasn't a great deal of that happening. They definitely would do it again at Blacktown, and they also said that they would consider absolutely doing it at other councils. Probably the biggest point there was when audits were undertaken, the audit reports were sent to council, and they weren't directly sent to the owners, where in the future I think we would choose a model where those audit reports went directly to the owners and copies went to council, and then we could follow up. So project takeaways. Some owners, including large corporate companies, believe council was responsible for maintenance of WSUD systems. And we have one example at Eastern Creek. It's taken us nearly 2 years to get some proprietary devices changed. And the initial response was, oh no, that's the council's responsibility to change over those devices. Some owners, again, mainly in industrial areas, wouldn't allow the audit contractors on site, and we have to still follow up with that. Owners have a good understanding of the WSUD systems and reporting obligations. Generally, systems were working and just needed a good basic clean. Signing 5-year maintenance contracts at occupation certificate was unpopular with many companies, especially your larger companies, and that was one of the reasons they gave for not wanting to do maintenance contracts with proprietary manufacturers. Education is key, from design and construction to handover and maintenance. Resource tools for owners and maintenance contractors are very important, and that in the WSUD inspection and maintenance guideline will go a long way to helping us out with that. We need to make reporting easy. Digital online reporting is the future now. The importance for council to keep good records, because owners just do not. I believe the audits were a success, bringing positive change for the benefit of owners, maintenance contractors and council. But of course, we're still very much early days. So any questions? Just on that one, that was the photo I snapped this morning, and that's a trench grate protecting stormwater going into the underground car park here at the resort. And as you can see, it probably hasn't been serviced for years. So there's just an endemic issue around people do not understand that private stormwater assets do need constant maintenance. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Let's start with Prue.
Okay, so I just got a couple of questions. Can I just clarify the contractors who did the auditing for you? Did they do that free of charge, or did you pay to do that?
Free of charge, yes.
And so were you concerned about the dependence of that information that coming back to you? For example, people who were auditing their own devices, stuff they might identify things that are not necessarily needed or what have you?
That was one of the concerns from one of the industrial properties at Eastern Creek, and they actually commissioned Optimal Stormwater to come and do an audit, a subsequent audit, which of course basically said the same thing. It actually picked up more issues. So, but that is the one that 2 years on, we're still having discussions with the property owners to get all these cartridges changed over. So
at what point did you take that further and take it through?
Well, we like to try and take an educational rather than a heavy-handed approach. And sure, I could send out a compliance letter tomorrow and send them a $1,500 administration fee and say, you have 30 days to have this completed. But my approach is more of an education and also just to take them along with this, because ultimately we all have to work together. The property owners, the maintenance contractors and council, we can't do it separately, working in our own little silos.
Well, this is for proprietary devices. Is there any program in place for green infrastructure?
No, we had, as sort of indicated, the new solutions in the first audits, and there were 44 properties, and they did everything basically except proprietary devices. So we then subsequently got the Spell and Ocean Protect on board to audit their systems.
Jeremy Ocean Protect, it's really a bit more of a statement. We just started a conversation. It costs my company a lot of money to do those audits. And the scrutiny that we get put under it as proprietary device manufacturers, you compare that to consulting engineers designing fire retention systems, there's been no emphasis on that. So, we went out and did those audits, 91. How many people decided to maintain their devices? Not one. Not one. So, there's a real big gap here. These guys are on the forefront of maintenance compliance, and they can't even get it done. Something's wrong, guys. We've got all this pressure on proprietary device manufacturers where we take a product, we get it tested to the highest bloody level you can, and we get all the scrutiny. So we've really got to lift our game up as an industry, and really everyone should be compliant, whether it's someone building a rain garden for council. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I see is, council, public assets, it doesn't matter, we don't have the money for it. But all the scrutiny goes on the private side. So, we as manufacturers, we as an industry, we've got to maintain not only private but public. And I think where it gets political is from a council point of view. How can council go out there and slam private developers when they're not even maintaining their own assets? And as a mayor, that's political suicide. So we all need to work in this room together to try and lift our game in maintenance, because when you do maintain these things, guess what? You remove a hell of a lot of pollution from entering our waterways, which is why we're all here. So hats off to Russell and what they're doing at Blacktown, but if you sit outside, mate, you don't even have the resources to get around and do half your job. So again, resourcing the council people to give them the tools to come out and do it. So yeah, just more of a comment anyway. But yeah, thanks for the presentation.
That was the other part of the blueprint document with the further recommendations that the compliance program does include council assets as well, and so I do go out and do audits on council biobasins and what have you. So
yeah, again, but you lead the way. There's councils all around Australia. We're a corporate quarry council. Recently, the mayor said to me, yeah, we maintain our AGPTs and our open fire retention systems. We went away, came back, spoke to people within council. They said, no, we don't have the money. So, it's a disconnect. What you guys are doing is great. We just need anyone else to follow.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I mean, also you mentioned that you guys have 2 officers and you're still under-resourced. Most councils don't even have 1 officer. So what would you give most of these councils to start with that actually puts them in place?
Well, they can when we do get the blueprint document hopefully approved by council, it's in draft format still, unfortunately. Other councils can use that as a model, and yeah, they do have resources in certain areas that they can get, say, accredited contractors to do projects like this and do a handful of audits at least to see what's happening out there. And there are other companies. I saw an email just last week to do with on-site stormwater detention, and they there was a project. I think it was detention basin Australia, or whatever the name is. They did a project with, I think, Randwick Council to audit a whole heap of on-site stormwater detention systems, and they're offering the service as well. So there is more and more players coming into this area, but it is it's an area that we all have to work together to move forward.
One more question. Okay, there's 2. All right. Two quick questions.
Quick comment. In my particular council area, about 20 times more is being spent on new capital investment on this sort of thing for the private sector compared with what the council is spending. So that shows you how important, as far as stormwater treatment is, getting the stuff on the private sector working really well. Just in terms of sheer expenditure, far more in our particular council area is being spent by the private sector than the public.
Yeah, and then look, we have some big basins, Eastern Creek, which will be getting handed over to the council later this year. And the developer's spending about $100,000 a year to maintain those. Guaranteed, council won't be spending $100,000 a year to maintain them once they're taken over. But then hopefully after that sort of 3 years establishment, the maintenance will be less. But look, yeah, having a that comment about private sector spending a lot more than council is quite
Andrew, last question. Just a quick comment or question about just the precedent for the idea of free of charge. Nothing's free of charge. I mean,
free lunch.
that's a lot of time. And I just wonder, are you comfortable or, is it fair that they then have to put that as an overhead to charge more on their servicing or selling their units to cover that audit? So shouldn't we actually just budget for the auditing?
Well, we should. In a perfect world, we should. But we don't even have enough money to budget to maintain our fire systems. But having said that, if people can get the stormwater charge increased, we can start paying people.
And I've got to say, just quickly, as a person who went out and audited these things, it was an enormous outlay for us to go out there, and we got no maintenance contracts whatsoever. This is a great idea, outsourcing the auditing of this stuff to push compliance. But unless the people who are actually doing it get something out of it, then and I think that the key to that is enforcement from council. I think you're going to be
absolutely. As I said, in future, we would try that the contractor would send those reports directly to the owners and CC us in. And because
yeah, I think as long as because the maintenance contracts.
Unless you say
yes,
no one's going to do it.
But then we can then more easily follow up with a compliance letter, and we can develop a standard compliance letter, saying that your premises has been audited. It shows that maintenance is required. You are free to choose anyone you wish, but you do need to follow up and get this fixed.
Yeah, unless you say, unless any jurisdiction says where you're going to find you or something bad's going to happen to you, they'll get it and they'll rip it up and they won't even say it.
No one's the problem we've got is lack of funding and resources.
Yeah, he needs help.
And that's Russell's trying, what we put together is the test. We learn a lot from it. We go finding the issues that are causing the barriers. Funding and resources of council is because you can't enforce the rules and regs as you put out. The other thing is the owners aren't even aware of what they have after time. They don't even know they've got these devices.
Exactly,
And because of that, we're in a bind where all the history, you can't go back to them and say, you've got to clean that. Why didn't you ever tell me about it before? Why didn't you ever tell us before?
And
go back to them.
the other thing, we're developing like a welcome package for new owners, and like an information pack when there's a new property which is just received occupation certificate, that we'll send this information out, and also having the signed maintenance contracts up front has helped to a certain degree, but again, it's enforcement to ensure that they have actually been signed, because we do have the issue where there may be a handover from the developer to like an owners corporation, and then the contracts are just cancelled by the developer, and then the owners corporation just gets a local plumber to sign a contract.
It's also important in the DCP there has to be some requirements on maintenance. So it's important for councils to realize that in the DCP there are council. So from the start it matches.
Yeah, but it's in the public covenants with Blacktown, and I know not every municipality does that, but but we can definitely enforce it.
Thanks, Russell.